Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
Does the state stipulate to the presence of the panel as well as the two alternates? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Jessica?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Juror number 2, have you been selected to be the foreperson?
Yes.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
Will you please hand the verdict form to Officer Hawks? Okay, the clerk will now read the verdict form out loud. The defendant and his attorneys will stand for the reading of the verdict.
District Court, Clark County, Nevada, State of Nevada, Plaintiff versus Robert Tellis, Defendant, case number C-368935, Department number 12, verdict. We, the jury in the above entitled case, find the defendant, Robert Tellis, as follows. Murder with use of a deadly weapon, victim 60 years of age or older. Guilty of first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon, victim 60 years of age or older. Special verdict. The jury unanimously finds the murder willful, deliberate, and premeditated. The jury unanimously finds the murder was committed by means of lying in wait. The jury unanimously finds the murder was committed by means of elder abuse. Guilty of first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon. Special verdict. The jury unanimously finds the murder willful, deliberate, premeditated. Do you want me to finish this?
I'm just having the attorneys approach for just a moment.
Thank you, Judge.
Because
All right, we just heard it. Guilty of murder with use of a deadly weapon. Now, this was a special charge in part because the victim was over the age of 60. We heard the foreperson, juror number 2, say that it was willful by means of lying in wait. We saw also Robert Tellis shaking his head no as the judge read that decision from the jurors.
And we also heard there the foreperson saying that they found Tellis guilty and that it was willful, deliberate, and premeditated, they say, the murder against against Mr. Gammon. Let's listen in to the judge's instructions.
So say you one, so say you all.
okay, this time, ladies and gentlemen, the clerk is going to ask you a question. I just ask that you respond yes or no.
Juror number 1 is, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 2, are these your verdicts as read? Yes. Juror number 3, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 4, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 5, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 6, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 7, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 8, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 10, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 11, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 12, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes. At this time, the clerk will record the verdict in the official record of the court. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, pursuant to your verdict, we will now go into the penalty phase of the trial. We're going to take a break and allow the attorneys to get prepared for that penalty phase. So we will start again at 1:30. At this time, you'll all be able to be back together again. You're going to go with the court officer back to the jury deliberation room. And at 1:30, we will begin the penalty phase of this trial. Thank you very much, and you're excused.
Thank you, all right. You're acting jury, please. Jurors, please go. Okay.
If you're just joining us, that's the reaction from Robert Tellis after discovering that a jury has found him guilty of murdering Jeff Gammon, an investigative reporter who had been critical of Mr. Tellis's work in office and was about to publish additional negative stories about him. We have our legal contributor, Jessica Levinson, joining us, and Carter Evans is outside the courthouse there in Las Vegas. Carter, tell us, now that we have this verdict of guilty, what type of reaction there may be there locally on a story that people have been watching so closely.
Well, you know, Justin, the people that I've been talking to since I've been in Las Vegas for the last couple of days, you know, they seem to agree with the overwhelming evidence. They thought he was going to be found guilty. Pretty much everyone I spoke with thought that. What happens now is the penalty phase, and often in a court case that could be weeks, even a month later. But in this case, it is going to happen today because the same jury is going to decide what the penalty is here, and he is facing up to life in prison. So we're going to hear victim impact statements after lunch in about an hour and a half now. Family members, friends of Jeff German will get up and talk about how this has changed their lives. And the jury will consider all that when making its decision on how long to send Robert Tellis to prison for.
Yeah, and that penalty phase starting again at 1:30 local time. So a very quick turnaround, really. Tellis largely unemotional besides sort of shaking his head no as the judge read that verdict of guilty. Jessica, explain to us, this was a special charge in part because Jeff German was older than 60. Can you explain to us a little bit more about how that is specific to Las Vegas?
It is. And this is a great question where we are now seeing, and partly through this trial, that criminal law is really a function of states. And this is why Robert Tellis, for instance, was able to testify in a narrative form, something I'm speaking to you from California, something many of us are not typically used to. That was a function of Nevada law. We are also seeing now that the charges look somewhat different. Not every state has an additional charge, which can mean additional jail time, obviously, based on the age of the defendant, where you saw that they found, obviously, this was a huge win for the prosecution, guilty on everything, including that additional charge related to the victim's age. And that's something that the prosecution would add on, frankly, because it's available. They thought it was appropriate and it could lead to additional prison time. So I think people are asking, well, if you could get a guilty on a first-degree murder charge, why would you have those additional charges? One, it's a belt and suspenders approach. Two, it could provide the prosecution with more leeway to say, we need more time here. As Carter very correctly pointed out, this is a case where we could see life in prison, and that shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. There are, as we talked about, a lot of variations between state laws, state criminal laws, but when it comes to a guilty on this type of murder charge, you almost always see that you could spend the rest of your life behind bars.